All right, let's get right into it. This is an episode that I'm excited to talk about. Um, is college worth it?
That is the question of the hour. We have all been to college, graduated from college. So I feel like we have expertise in this topic.
I mean, all over the spectrum. Jordan, liberal arts college, College of Worcester. Mia went to PWI, Cornell University, Ivy League. John, HBCU, Tennessee State University. So we get to touch all the different aspects of college. And so before we get started, just want to say welcome to the I Found a Friend podcast, where we're your friend helping you navigate life's journeys. It's your host, Eric Diggs.
Jordan Diggs.
John Diggs.
And we're going to get straight to it. So you heard it. The cliche, go to college, get a degree, get a high-paying job, save, invest your money, create your generational wealth. But with today's society, the way, interest rates are, the way that tuition costs are increasing, the way that jobs, the price of salaries is not increasing at the corresponding rate, is college really worth going to?
I think that's such an interesting question. I had a conversation with my math professor, actually, and he was saying, like, by the time our kids are able to go to college, it's going to be so expensive that they won't be able to pay off the amount of debt they'll be in.
Why is that?
Because every year, prices are rising with interest and like interest rate. Like, for instance, my tuition cost rose about $8,000 by the time I graduated from my freshman year to the end of, my senior year. So they're just going to keep rising.
Let me give you guys some numbers or just talk about some costs. So student debt has more than doubled over the last 2 decades. Student loans is now one of the largest forms of consumer borrowing in the country. So like comparing in the late 1980s and 1990s, most high schoolers did not enroll at colleges or universities. And of those who did, less than half borrowed money to do so. But now going to 2021, almost 2/3 of recent high school graduates were enrolled and most took out student loans. And so students are borrowing more because the cost of college tuition has grown many times faster than income. And then taking it to black students are more likely to borrow to pay for college. And the average black family has a median net worth of $9,600.
That's crazy.
Oh yeah. So just some averages too. Like the average student loan debt, according to Business Insider, for 2020 and 2021 was $29,100. Student debt as a whole is rising. I mean, including like car notes, credit cards, etc.
Yeah, that's wild to think about in terms of like the financial standpoint. Is college worth it? For instance, so I just got hired at a new job and I start tomorrow, so I'm super excited about that. But I was talking to a friend who hasn't been in college, and she's getting paid almost just about the same amount as me. So I'm like, I have a degree. She doesn't have a degree. Was it worth those 4 years of going to college in terms of, you're going to get paid more?
On top of the fact that it's like you need 4 years of experience to even get some of the jobs that you got a degree in. Like, where did you expect me to get this experience from? I was in school.
Right.
Yeah, and I feel like that model of like go to college, get a high paying job is like, it's out. It's like old fashioned now. That's like the old fashioned model, because now there's a wealth of knowledge available to us at our fingertips.
YouTube University.
TikTok University.
No, it's crazy because like I've learned so much stuff from TikTok, even just like about investing in money and finances. It's just like, wow, I didn't learn any of this stuff in college. And that's another thing about college. It doesn't teach you the practical stuff, right? It teaches you stuff out of textbooks, but like in terms of how do you actually be an adult and live and survive in the world, that it doesn't teach you that.
Y'all want some more numbers?
Let's hear it.
This is a long one, so bear with me, but I'm really about to break this down to you to just make it more clear. So the federal student loan interest rate for undergraduates is 4.99%, so basically 5%. So according to LendingTree, a graduate with the salary above the $29,100 that we talked about a little earlier, they could handle a 10-year standard repayment plan. So with that repayment plan, you would be paying about $309 a month with the loan, with the interest rate of 5%. So if you do the math in total at the life of the loan, you would pay back $37,080. So after 7.8 years, you're paying in excess of what you borrowed because of interest. So like you think about that, like how am I building generational wealth? And then keep in mind, this is based off of the average. There's people that have way more student loan debt than that. Plenty of people with 30 to 60K in debt based off of just that alone, and they're paying higher interest rates than the 5%.
Hold on, I'm gonna break that down even more. So basically, what you're saying is, I paid $30,000 to go to college. If I get a job roughly around the same amount, then I'll pay off that $30,000 in 10 years. However, because of interest rates, I'll be paying more than $30,000, and for 7 out of those 10 years, I'm paying the interest.
Precisely.
Okay.
And let me make it even crazier for you, and just really make it clear. So most of us, obviously, we're not going to pay $309 per month for student loans. A lot of us, when we look at loan repayment plans, we look at the monthly payment. So we try to get the lowest monthly payment. So let's say you take that same $29,100 at a 5% interest rate, and you want to pay it back in 30 years instead of 10 years because you want a cheaper monthly payment. So using a loan payment calculator, that brings your monthly payment down to $156 a month, which is almost half of the $309. So monthly payment wise, that's cheaper. Now, over the life of the loan, the 30 years, you will end up paying back $56,160.
Yeah.
That's crazy.
That is a crazy concept. And even I have to think about this because like I took out student loans to pay for my tuition. So one thing that like my math professor, he was also a finance guy, so he helped like with personal finances with any students who had questions. And one thing he said is pay more than what you need to every month, because those interest rates, if you just like pay the minimum amount, it's going to be taken out way more than what you even borrowed at the end of the day. And that's how banks make their money. And Eric can talk about this because he's a finance guy, but like banks make their money because they charge you interest.
Yeah. So graduated from Cornell University, finance major, and currently working at a bank as an analyst. And yeah, I get to see this world over and over again. Just, people taking lower interest, or not lower interest, but lower monthly payments in order to make it more affordable. But that interest adds up over time. Like even with the student loans, like you pay it back over 30 years, and that's a little over $19,000 more than paying it back in 10 years, and almost $30,000 more than what you borrowed. So obviously you want to put more money towards your student loans, like you were saying, because that's better in terms of saving on interest. But the question then becomes, is it realistic to expect the average college grad to put $300 plus a month towards paying down student loans? And of course, I brought some more numbers in that in terms of just thinking about income and expenses. So the median individual income in the U.S. is around $54,000 according to 2022. With that income in Tennessee, you would be taxed $8,900. So your net pay would be $45,232 per month, which means your monthly pay would be $3,769 per month. Your median monthly mortgage payment in the U.S. is about $2,000. Median monthly rent payment in the U.S. is about $1,700. Your average monthly credit card payment in the U.S. is about $300 to $400. And we're not even going to get into credit card debt because that's a whole other topic within itself. Average monthly car note for a new car in 2022 was $717. Average monthly car note for a used car was $563, 2022. And then you add in, like, of course, the student loans, you're probably paying $100 to $300 per month. And I didn't even add in groceries, gas, tithes, utilities, shopping, entertainment expenses, etc. You can see how easily it is for people to rack up crazy debt really quickly, and that leaves people with no opportunity to truly save or make meaningful investments that will have meaningful returns. So at the end of the day, we take out these student loans hoping to have higher paying jobs, but that's not guaranteed for everyone.
Let's kind of circle back though to talk about, like, is college worth it from the finance aspect? So I believe that roughly people are paying $20,000 to $30,000 a year for a college, right? And it's like, what comes with that? A bunch of classes that you might not care about, a bunch of classes that you might care about.
Let's pause right there. Do you guys remember half the lessons you learned from all your classes?
No, I just did what I got to do to pass.
Because why am I a graphic design major taking chemistry courses?
Exactly.
Like, why? I don't understand. Like, a lot of the stuff they talk about is not practical knowledge. But on the flip side of that, you can make meaningful relationships. There's friendships that can be made, or networking opportunities that can be made. That's probably the biggest benefit outside of what you learn that you can get from college. But is that really worth $120,000 over a 4-year?
Well, let's talk about that. Like, what are the pros of college? Because I know there's probably people watching this who are about to go to college and like, dang, maybe I shouldn't. But like, there are pros to going to college, and like, what are those pros? I would say one, it gives you like that fluctuation room. Like if you don't know what you want to do immediately right after you graduate high school, you got time to think and like time to really discover who you are and what you're passionate about. Because when you graduate high school, you're probably around 17, 18 years old, and you're not going to know what you want to do for the entirety of your life. But even that's not a bad thing, because you can start something and always switch and always, redefine yourself, reinvent yourself. But still, like, college gives you that time to kind of discover who you are and who you want to be.
My professor explained it like this. Shout out Professor Jackson. He's a mentor that I got from college, which I'm very thankful for. That's another benefit of college. But he said college is a time of like a safety net. It's like that halfway step of independence where, you have your independence. You can move how you want to move. But at the same time, in case you do fail, there's barriers in place. You have people around you that can support you and pick you back up if you do fail. But on that topic of failure, you're paying to fail if you go to college. Like, I need you to understand that very clearly. Failing in college is not the same as failing in high school. You have to take that course again, and you have to pay $2,000 or however much that course is. So if you go to college, go to class, do the work, and I promise you 9 times out of 10, you're not failing that class if you do both of those things.
Another thing with college is it's a great opportunity to network. The best currency you can have in this life is relational currency. So in college, you must go into it with the mentality of surrounding yourself with like-minded people, people who can challenge you, people who are pushing in the same direction, maybe want to create something similar to you, who want to research something similar. Like, create those networks and those connections and build those relationships out in college. That's a very key place, because you have some of the top minds around the world coming together on one campus. And you have some of the top minds from internationally coming together on campuses. Like, it's such a diverse group of people all in one space. It's a great opportunity to network.
That's so true. And that's one thing that I appreciate about my college experience is I've gotten to meet people from all over the world, because my college is a very international college. We have like one of the top, international populations for like a small liberal arts college in Ohio. So I have like friends from like Japan and from Thailand and from, Africa, different parts of Africa. So it's so cool making those relationships, because I know like in the future, I don't know if I want to travel somewhere, I have friends all over the world, which is pretty cool. But as Eric said, like, college is about building relationships. So I would say college is not the time to be shy. Even if you're feeling shy, there's a saying, they say, fake it till you make it, You got to put yourself out there. You got to try new things. You can't just stay in your dorm all day and wonder why you don't have any friends and why you're lonely. You got to put yourself out there.
And in terms of getting a degree, we have to be honest. There are a lot of jobs that do require degrees or will pay more if you do have a degree. So having a degree is a benefit. But at the same time, I don't want you wasting your time at a school that you're not really, not the school itself, because college, wherever you go, is going to be what you make of it. Like Jordan said, put yourself out there. But so a lot of people go to school just to party or just to kick it, and then they get a degree that they don't care about and they don't use. So that's what I want you to avoid. If you're going to go to college, take that time to go undecided in your major. You have 2 years before you actually need to declare, and then, figure out what you like, what you're into. Otherwise, you're just wasting time, just spending money somewhere that you don't need to be pursuing a career that you're not even going to, pursuing a degree in a career that you might not even have, because so many people get jobs outside of the field that they actually got a degree in.
True. And that's key to, like, understand that, like, you may get a job that's not even in the field that you studied. Is it worth that cost? Now, there are some fields you have to go to college for.
Yeah. STEM.
Like STEM. If you're going to be a doctor, like, come on now, you got to go to college for that. And so understanding that, what are you going to college for? What are you paying for? And just being aware of that. I think a lot of people aren't aware of that. Like, I didn't know, like, the way that student loans work, and then you add the interest and how you're paying it over time. You think you're just making your monthly payment, you're good. Like, it's really low. Like, you'd be cool. You're making a job, getting money. That adds up over time, like the life of the loan. Like, nobody ever broke that down to me before I went to college. Thankfully, I was able to go mostly on scholarship, so that's a blessing. So, like, if you have the opportunity to go to college and you got to pay for it, like, that's a no-brainer. Like, go.
One piece of advice that I heard from Rich Dad, Poor Dad was, like, college teaches you to be an employee. So sometimes when you go to college, you can get into that fixed mindset of, oh, I'm going to go work for a company, when most wealth is built from people building their own businesses and selling their own products and, starting their own companies. So that's also something you got to, like, look into. It's like, what type of career do you want? Because, like, if you want to be a doctor or veterinarian, yeah, it makes sense to go to college. You got to get that medical training. But say you want to be someone in business, is it necessarily worth it to go to business, I guess, college and just like learn from a textbook, or actually apply real world knowledge and learn from mentors who have actually done it?
Shout out Robert Kiyosaki. He has another book where it's called like the 4 quadrants or something like that. And it kind of goes in depth about that topic of what Jordan was talking about, of where you want to be. Being an entrepreneur is not for everybody. So like if somebody says like, oh, you want to be an employee, don't take that like the wrong way. At the same time, know what you're aiming for, what you're striving to be, by studying yourself and understanding what you yourself want. And so when it comes to going to college and the major that you want to have, I went into college as a STEM major because of a couple of different reasons, but I was hoping to get scholarship, and I was like, ooh, I'm going to make a lot of money doing it, but I wasn't happy. And I talked to my mom about it, talked to my dad about it, and one thing my mom told me, she was like, hey, John, you're going to wake up every day in your own body, and if you're not happy with what you do and you dread what you do, then it's like, is it really worth it? And so it's like, okay, you're going to college to make all this money, but you hate what you're doing, you don't enjoy your job. It might not be worth it for you, and then you're missing out on time with family and all kinds of stuff. But also research your major. I went in not knowing what an engineer was. I don't know why I didn't know what an engineer was at the time, but I didn't. So I'm like, okay, I'm going to do engineering. And it was a lot more math than I liked. A lot of people talk about being a psychiatrist and going to school, getting their philosophy degree. I feel like that's the most common thing that people fall back on. It's like philosophy or whatever. But or psychology. They fall back on psychology. They want to be a psychiatrist. But they don't realize that being a psychiatrist means you have to go get a doctorate. People think they get that in their 4 year. No, you have to go through a lot more schooling. So if you're going to go to college, do intensive research on the major that you're trying to pick, which is why I said, you can get your 4 year, or you can wait your 2 years to go get your undergrad, and then you can pick your major after.
Yeah, one thing that I want to communicate to you guys is that you can still be successful without going to college, because some people think, oh, I'm not going to go to college. How am I going to make it in this world? But college is not a necessity. And I feel like, especially with our generation and like where the trends are going, like you don't ever need to go to college to be successful. So that's what we're trying to communicate with you while you're weighing the pros and cons of going to college, is that like sometimes for some people, it's not worth it. You don't need to do that.
I think one thing to understand too is you need to gain skills. When you look on the resume, it's going to tell you, not resume, but job application, it's going to tell you the skills necessary in order to have this position. And so whatever you're doing, whether you're going to college or not going to college, make sure that you're gaining those skills necessary to do for the field that you want to be in. So I was going to say, so like if you don't want to go to college, okay, cool. You can go to a boot camp. Like I just literally was telling my brothers about this tech boot camp, pay $450, 5 weeks. After you do the training, they give you the skills needed for the field, and then they also help you get a job after, like, they put your name out there in order for you to get on the job market. And you can make, 60, 70, 80, 90, 6 figures, because it is a tech field. And the cool thing about getting into a job is it's easy to transfer from job to job than it is to go from having a degree, graduating college, and finding that first job. So if you can get in a job and gain the skills, it doesn't matter what you're getting paid at first. Gain those skills, put those on your resume, and then transfer from job to job.
Transferable skills are super valuable. What did you say?
Yeah, I was just going to say, I love that piece of advice that Eric was giving. Like, if you don't go to college, what should you do? It's gain a skill, and just gain a skill in one area. Because if you can gain a skill in one area and become the best at it, that's when you get paid a lot of money. And even when you're in college, gain a skill. Because that's one thing that I did when I was in college. Was like the reason why I got hired at this job that I'm now going to be working at is because I gained skills outside of the classroom. Like I would go to class, and then like on my free time, I would be practicing videography, filming videos, recording in my room, making social media content, really understanding social media trends. Like these are skills that no one in the class, no teacher, no professor taught me. I learned them on my own because I was truly passionate about it. And it has opened up so many doors for brand deals and opportunities to make money, and even leading to this job position where they saw like what I've built on social media, to the point where they're like, yes, we want to hire you. And the hiring process took a week to do. Like it was not long at all. Like the first interview, they knew they wanted to hire me. So I think that's important.
And that's so interesting too. A lot of people are like, okay, if I don't go to college, then what? There's other types of colleges that people don't think about too, like trade school, and blue collar jobs are really high in demand because those are just jobs that will never go out of business. You know, electricians, mechanics, stuff like that. Like you could invest in a trade, which is basically the same thing as having a skill set or hop right into the workforce. But if you don't go to college, have a plan. Don't just sit there. Don't just lie around. Don't, you know what I'm saying? If you can, try not and get a job that's in like fast food or whatever. Try going to retail, because I didn't get a job because I didn't have retail sales experience. Like even stuff like that where it doesn't seem like it's that valuable can make a world of a difference in trying to get a job.
It's so true. When like thinking about success, like in terms of like building something for yourself, I was listening to this TikTok and the guy said like pick something that's simple. You know, you don't have to reinvent the wheel to be successful. So he was talking about this millionaire that he met who mentored him, and he was saying that the millionaire made money because he sells steel. You know, like that's just like a simple commodity that everybody needs. So like when you're just like trying to plan out and think, oh, what could I do? It can be the most simple things, you know?
And so understand that, like, start small, start with something that you're passionate with, and then invest in that. The first person you should be paying is yourself. So invest in building out skill sets that are transferable. Even when you're going and doing certain jobs, think about the skills that you're learning there that you can articulate and put on a resume and say that I've done this because I was here. I was, you know, maybe you was a manager at McDonald's. Well, guess what? You was leading the team. That's a transferable skill. You have leadership ability. Also, like thinking about, I was thinking back to college and just thinking about like all these classes I was taking that have nothing to do with what I'm doing right now. Like
At all.
one class was called Green World, Blue Planet, some biology class. Did I learn anything from it? No. It was just an easy A. And so like understand that there's going to be those moments in college, but it's okay because if you have it with the right perspective, if you come in with the right perspective and you just have a plan of action and you know what you're going to do, and not necessarily know what you're going to do in your field, but you know, like, I'm coming to college to network. I'm coming to college to build out certain skills. I'm coming to college to have the opportunity to fail and try new things. Then, yeah, it's going to be beneficial for you. But if you come in and you're clueless, you're not aware, you don't know the cost associated with it, then it's not going to be as beneficial for you.
That's so true. And leading back to the question, is college worth it? Another reason why we're evaluating this is because we're saying, like, there's so much knowledge and skill outside of college that you can learn on your own, you know? So as Eric's saying, like, be intentional about what you want to know. And like, if you don't want to go to college, be intentional about, okay, how can I get that information and knowledge outside of a classroom?
Right.
There's books, there's YouTube, as we were saying, there's TikTok now, there's AI. AI is so powerful and can teach you so many things. And that's another reason why college might not be worth it anymore, because we got so much information at our fingertips.
Literally.
Let's shift the conversation and talk about each of the colleges that we went to. You know, HBCU, PWI, liberal arts. Is Cornell liberal arts? Or no, what is that? Ivy League, I guess.
It's Ivy League, but
Different.
it's kind of like liberal arts too.
Actually,
So I went to the College of Worcester in Ohio. It's located in the city Worcester, Ohio. It's a really small city, 45 minutes outside of Cleveland, surrounded by Amish country. So it's really like a college town because there's nothing else around it. It's a liberal arts college, and it's second in the country for research under Princeton. So what they require for all students to do is to do a year-long research project and like submit that to graduate. So I ended up doing one. It was over 100 pages long, but what I loved about it was like you could choose whatever topic that you wanted to research. So that's an example of taking advantage of, you know, your college education and using it to benefit you. Because I did mine all about like the social media industry and learning about like content creation and like how to monetize content and create a business out of social media. That's what I wrote my paper on. And then I ended up building a website alongside of it. That's something else I like talked about in my job interview. But yeah, so that was a little bit about my college. And as I said, it was a very international college. So like I got the chance to meet a lot of people, try new things. So that's a little bit about my college experience.
I went to Cornell University, Ivy League school, upstate New York, in a small town called Ithaca, New York. Very cold. Like it's literally winter there from October till May.
that's awful.
And like I'm talking about like it's snowing from October to May. And like this is snow. So kid from Tennessee, like we get a little bit of snow here and there in Nashville, but nothing like that. But I will say that being in that environment, PWI, abundant resources, abundant knowledge as well. I just think about the skill set that they taught me. They taught me how to dress properly for certain business meetings and functions, where to wear at these events. They taught me how to build out my resume. They taught me how to present in front of people and worked on my public speaking skills. You have professors who are some of the top in their industry teaching your classes. They're able to bring in some of the top people in their industries to be keynote speakers at events. You're networking with these kids who come from these influential families, and they're just on your campus around you in your everyday life. So yeah, from a young black kid from Nashville, Tennessee, not growing up around much, being opened up to that kind of a world and just seeing like, whoa, this exists. That was very impactful for me. And it built a fire inside of me. It's like, I'm not going to just learn about these skills for myself. I'm going to learn as much as I can so I can take it back with me to where I'm from. And so I came back down south because I want to take what I learned up there and bring it down here. But they put me on game. So in that sense, yeah, college was worth it because it taught me so much that I didn't know because I wasn't exposed to. And I'm a firm believer that you can't be different until you see different. And so seeing something different, being experienced something different, now I'm able to think differently and then I'm able to act differently and chase after something that I wasn't going to chase after at first.
I would say for me, for one, I have to put the caveat that I was a commuter. So when I say like college is what you make of it, I was a commuter to save money, but it had its benefits and its drawbacks. Yes, I saved money, but I didn't make as many relationships or friends. And in terms of HBCU specifically, I think that two things that I learned was like tenacity and also it's not what you know, but who you know. So in terms of tenacity, a lot of HBCUs will just put you through situations that PWIs won't. I'm going to keep it a band with you. Like, I love my school. There's a lot that I wish was different. You know, people would have housing that they would apply for, they paid for, then they get to campus, they don't have a house. They don't have a dorm to stay in. So they might get put in a hotel. They might not have housing. I heard some people didn't have housing for like 2 weeks. You can definitely tell which departments are valued at my HBCU. It might not be the same for others, but I know that for mine specifically, like nursing and STEM, like engineering was very valued compared to where I was. I was a graphic design major. A lot of HBCUs might not have developed programs for what you're wanting to go for. So it's like, these are things that you have to take into consideration. So it's like, I have to be tenacious about learning outside of class. I have to be tenacious about, getting value and building that skill set on my own. But then in terms of it's not who you know, or it's not what you know, but who you know, I was able to procure scholarships because of relationships that I developed with some of the faculty. I was able to get internships because of some of the relationships that I was able to develop with faculty. So in terms of an HBCU, there's no other experience like it. The culture there is phenomenal. You get to go to a school where you're surrounded by, as a minority, you're surrounded by other people that look like you. And it's just a really cool experience. But at the same time, there are a lot of drawbacks that you might not know about or that you might not hear about. So if you don't have a friend who is in HBCU and you're thinking about going to an HBCU, try and find one, because there's going to be a lot of stories that they could tell you, good and bad, about them. And it's like, okay, with all this knowledge, now I can make a better decision on if I want to go or not.
I love how you said, like, you connected with professors and like it led to opportunities, because Eric and I, we had a couple friends over this weekend. Darren was one of them. We were just talking about like how meeting one person can change your whole entire life for the good, or one opportunity, one thing. So that just like leads back to being intentional about forming relationships, even with professors, if you choose to go to college or if you're in college right now, forming those relationships. But yeah. So to kind of wrap this episode up, I would ask, do you guys think college is worth it? What is your final opinion on this question?
If you would have asked me my freshman year, I would have said no. But my senior year, I would have said yes. There's a lot that God had planned for me while at college that I didn't realize. There's a lot of, you grow so much as a person in college. Like the relationships, the interactions that you have, the situations that you could put in can really locate you. So I would say yes, for me, it was worth it. I came out with no student debt, fortunately, so I was able to pay off a lot of schooling. So for me, I could say I can't really, it was a very valuable 4 years. But
I'd say for me that looking back overall, I'd say it was worth it for me. Again, I came out with $10K in student debt, so very minimal. Thinking about, like you said, the personal growth It was huge. It was nice having a little buffer before you actually hit the real world. Being able to be out on your own, you know, creating a budget, creating a schedule, creating a routine. Those are like applicable skills that you need to learn to set yourself up to succeed in life. And having that window to do it in like a safe place in a bubble, because college is a bubble. It was nice. Like I said, the community I was around, the things that I was taught, the lessons that I've learned there that I'm applying now that set me up ahead right now that I'm able to pass on. Couldn't get that from just, you know, doing life on my own. So it was worth it because the cost that I put into it wasn't as much, and I was able to get so much out of it. But also understanding that if I know what I want to do and I can get those skills without going to college, yeah, I'm probably looking that area now than I would back then, because you can do so much more online, social media, boot camps, trade schools. Like there's so many other options. So I would just say just understanding, not limiting myself to being college as the only option.
Yeah, I would agree with both of you guys. I would say that college is definitely worth it in my opinion too, for me personally, because I feel like where I started freshman year and where I am now, it's just like two different people. Like there was like a lot of maturing to do, a lot of growth to do, a lot of personal development to do. And that I was able to do all of that during my 4 years of college. And now I feel like I'm ready to do adulting, you know, because I've been through all of these, you know, different stages of personal development. So for me, I would definitely say college was worth it. But to answer that question for other people, it's not necessary. So if you're like thinking about, oh, well, I don't know if I want to go to college or not, just know it is not necessary. Yeah, you can still be successful. Still, you know, you're still going to grow no matter if you go to college or not. So just don't have that pressure, oh, I have to go to college to be somebody, because that's not true at all.
So quick question, just for fun, like, are you guys going to force your kids to go to college?
That's a negative on me. I kind of want my kids to be like really creative people and just like pursue whatever they want creatively. So if they're like really smart, I'm going to be like, okay, I guess you can go to college, but like I'm not going to force my kids to go.
As long as they have a plan, then no. If they don't have a plan, then yeah, you're going to college.
Yeah, I agree with you, John. I'm in the same realm. Like, you got a plan, no college, but if you don't, let's go to college. But I'm going to definitely make sure I teach my kids how to create a plan as they're growing up from the things that I learned.
For sure.
But with that said, I just want to thank you guys for listening to the I Found a Friend podcast. Again, follow us on Instagram at I Found a Friend Pod, YouTube, I Found a Friend Pod, TikTok as well. And if you was looking for a friend, you found one.